I'm in a bit of a catch-22 with my husband. I've been married about 5 years. My second marriage, turning 50 this year. I'll be 54. And
you say he's turning 50 and you're turning 54?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and we've been working pretty hard these past 5 years to become financially independent, which we have. And now he wants to go DJ, and it just is a lifestyle that just is not at all compatible with mine, not what I signed up for in this marriage.
He wants to go DJ?
Yeah. Well, he's very talented, and he did that when he was younger, and then he got somebody pregnant, and he went to the military, and he did 20 years in the military. And
it's time to get out the turntables and crack it back open, Jane.
Yeah, I mean, it's his passion, and I'm not one to, I'm very much about a purpose-driven life, and if that's his purpose, I don't, it's not me to deter him from that. But it just doesn't work for my life. I wasn't into the clubs and bars when I was 25.
Yeah, so what kind of... Ugh, this is a sticky one. So what kind of DJing? Is it like...
He does drum and bass vinyl. He does vinyl DJing, which is it's more like an art form. What he does is more like art. Yeah, it's not like, he's truly talented.
So he's not doing like wedding music, and he's not DJing like Bob and Janet getting remarried. He's not doing that. And he's not.
No, none of that.
He's not like doing Indian May parties. He's
DJing like venues. I guess they wanted to sign him up for a resident DJ at a new club.
Okay. But
he wants to play like big festivals. He wants to actually produce music. And I say he's very talented.
Okay, so, but I don't mean this in a negative way. In many facets, this is a young man's game.
Yeah.
You stay up all night, you sleep all day, and a few people make $1 jillion doing this, and I'm sure there's people that make a living doing it, but whatever. There's a deeper issue here, because it's not that. Because I hear you saying that he's good at this. That probably, Jane, this is one of the things that drew you to him. Maybe not his actual DJing in a club, but the fact that he's an artist and he's a creator and he's like sees things and experiences things in the world that other people don't. That's probably why you fell in love with him, right?
Yeah, he's a very, very passionate individual, and he's someone that does something 100%. I mean, he was special forces. He's done like 8 combat tours. When he does something, he doesn't mess around.
Okay, so there's a part of you that thinks, oh, this is going to work out.
Well, yeah, I do. I think in terms of for him, yes, I can see that if he really puts his passion behind it and his focus to it, yes. First of all, he doesn't look 50, and we both are really into our health. At least that was one of the big things that drew me to him. He's let that go because now the music, but it's not for the money. He doesn't want to do it for the money.
No.
He doesn't care.
He has seen things. No, he is trying to extract the last 2 decades, every drop out of the last 2 decades he has.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
But I want to go back to something you said. You said this is not compatible with my lifestyle. So I want to call bull crap on that, but I think there's a deeper thing here. So give me the real.
Well, that's, part of it is on the surface.
No. Give me not the part. Give me the real. Because you can go to bed at 9 o'clock and he could leave and you won't even know he's gone. Special forces, dude. I was just a goofball, and I used to leave the house to go to crisis calls and go clean body parts up, and I'd come home and my wife hadn't even moved, and I'd get back in the same bed. So that could happen. What is the thing you're really worried about?
Okay, well, I didn't want to open up this can of worms.
I know, but you called me.
He got arrested 6 months after we got married.
Okay, for what?
Okay, he had a coke problem that he had been under treatment for like a year before I met him.
You said a coke problem?
Yes,
okay.
He had a substance abuse problem. And he had a relapse after the 6 months, and he got arrested for trying to hook up with the 14-year-old.
Okay.
So he was been on probation for the majority of our marriage.
Okay.
And I told him, it's one chance. You know, I can deal with a lot, and I even reconciled everything in my mind in terms of I understand that these people operate without boundaries. They are trained to operate without any sort of boundaries. And I know the environments that he was living in. So it's not that he was going after a 14-year-old. It was a sting operation. And I understand. I know they put up the pictures, make them look like they're a lot older, and they trap them.
That's a whole other conversation.
That's a whole other thing. Yeah. Then that's what I'm saying. So he did a lot of work during that time, a lot of therapy. I mean, he was forced to anyways, but he was already in therapy before the arrest, and he's done a lot of self-improvement. Mm-hmm. And yeah, my fear is that he is in an environment where there's a lot of triggers. And the reality is, and it took years to rebuild the trust, but it wasn't that difficult because he was on probation. He couldn't go anywhere.
So let's stop. You've used the word he about 40 times. Let's stop doing that.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's take full ownership of what's inside your chest.
I felt safe during that time because
he was home.
You know, because wasn't much he could do. So and we were always together. He couldn't go anywhere. Okay. But and there was, like I said, he was going to therapy like 3 times a week. I definitely felt
you
safe.
Married, and I say this, I've got friends in special forces. You married a wild animal, a very highly trained animal.
Yeah. And I get that, and that obviously makes me feel safe on
of course
a
it does.
Different level.
But you loved that ability he had, but you really loved it in the imposed cages that you found him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And now that cage has been lifted.
Yeah, now that cage has been lifted. And so we did build a lot of trust. And to be honest, John, I'm not a jealous person. I'm not a possessive person.
No, you're a scared person.
Yeah. Yes.
And that's okay. It's okay, but you got to own it. You got to own it.
Yeah, I'm afraid of his dishonesty.
Okay.
I can handle a lot. Just be honest. I mean, even if we say, okay, you know what, we'll do open marriage while you're doing this, but just be honest. Just tell me. So after all these years of building this trust, I fully was trusting him. I had let the past go. I find out he's lying to me about something so simple about vaping. Mm-hmm. You know, when I asked him, it's like, just tell me so I could smell it.
What happens? Hold on. What happens when he tells you the truth? Can you hold it?
What happened when he told me the truth?
No. In any situation, what happens when he tells you the truth about a thing he knows you're not going to agree with? Do you go, oh, you and your vaping? Or do you say, you're not supposed to do that. It's not good for you. It's just going to lead to... Can you hold his truth?
Yeah, no, what I do... I had even told him before. I said, "Look, if you need to vape, I get that. There's worse things you could do. Just be honest about it, and don't do it in front of my son. I don't want him vaping in front of my son, and because I have a 12-year-old. And the first time he denied it, it was maybe a year ago, and then he came clean, and he said, "Yeah, it was my vape." And I said, I really appreciate you being honest. Okay. And that was that.
Okay.
And the second time, I didn't say anything, but we did do a therapy session, and this was brought up. And I told him, look, it all ties into his DJing, his nightlife. That
I don't think that is. I think that's a proxy.
I know. It's just, I feel like he just destroyed the foundation of the trust we just spent years rebuilding.
That's not true. Because the trust wasn't real.
If you can't be honest about the vaping. How can you be honest about something big? When look, man, I am the coolest chick when it comes to that. You know, you had a moment of weakness. Fine, just tell me about it. Just don't. It's the dishonesty. The being blindsided when I got that call. I mean, we were having sex 4 or 5 times a day, and he does this. It's like, oh, the blind side. This
there
was
it
6
is.
months
That's
into my marriage.
That's it, right there.
I can't deal with the blind side.
But that's it, right there.
It was humiliating.
That's it. Own that.
But he knows that. We talked about that in depth.
No. Hold on. But the question you asked is, I don't like this lifestyle. It's not true.
Well, that's a whole other thing.
I know. But listen, just listen. You love this guy, and in your world, in your experience, he blew your world up. And you are internalizing that explosion as what else could I have done? I had sex with him whenever he wanted. I'm cool. I let. But everything is very maternal. Everything is, I'm the one in power here, and I will hold my hands folded across my chest and look at you and say whether you can or can't.
And I hate that. I don't want to be that person.
I know. I get that. I totally get that.
I don't want to be that.
I know. And I don't want to let him off the hook.
I don't want to be someone's mother.
I don't want to let him off the hook. That's not the point. He shouldn't be out lying to his wife. And he shouldn't be getting caught in sting opera. That's a whole other call. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I think the scariest part of this for you is the trust you thought you built was pseudo at best. It wasn't real. It's like a summer camp when you are stuck on a mountain in the forest and you meet somebody and you think they're the one. It's not real until you get off the mountain and go back to your regular lives. And then he's not so cute anymore. Or that funny thing he does is just annoying, right?
Yeah.
And so I think it's being honest about, dude, I heard you talk about him and his artistry and how skilled and talented he is.
Yeah. I really enjoy seeing that. I mean, he really shines.
That's what I mean. Like, you like that. The thing that is honest here is, I don't trust you. And worse than that, you made me feel ashamed.
Yeah.
And I don't think you've fully metabolized that. And you make it about sleep schedules, and you make it about vaping, and you make it about these little bitty lies here. You made me feel ashamed. You made me feel embarrassed.
Yeah.
Or you made me feel less than. I was sleeping, I was doing all this stuff, and I wasn't enough.
Yeah.
And in that conversation, you'll have to exhale and realize that the problem that exists here was never you. And that's a scary thing.
I get that on the surface level.
I know, but you got to feel that in your bones.
Yeah. So what do I do? I don't know.
You have to address that issue because it's going to become this weird proxy war about staying up too late and playing music, and I don't like that atmosphere.
It's that it keeps me from sleeping because as soon as he comes, I'm a light sleeper. And
but I mean,
really hard time. Okay, I'll get earplugs.
No, those are all surface Band-Aids. It's about you being honest and saying, I'm not fully over what happened.
Yeah.
And in the same way, you've been trying to convince yourself that we're rebuilding trust here. You didn't. You still don't trust him. And I'm not saying you should. I'm just saying I want you to own what you're actually feeling here.
Well, I thought I did until
that
last incident just made me realize this person just doesn't know how to operate in honesty. He operates, he's a hider, and I can't change that. I have to accept that.
You don't have to accept it.
what do I do? What else do I do? I'm not going to try to change him. I already tried.
Okay, then you have two choices. You can leave, or you can say, this is the person I married, and I'm going to do what I can to not put them in positions where they feel like they have to be dishonest. But you just choosing to find a particular thing and hit the gas in the mud, the car's just going to spin and spin and spin and spin and spin. All you're going to do is blow out your engine. You're never going to get anywhere.
So it's me who's making him feel he needs to be dishonest?
Nope. It's you thinking that you can control that. What you can do is set up boundaries. I don't want to live in the house with somebody that I can't trust, period. Trust to go after 14-year-old girls, trust to tell me the truth about something as stupid as a vape. I don't want to live in that house. Or I do want to live in this house, and so I'm choosing to live in a house with somebody that doesn't tell me the truth, and that there's just going to be an underlying frustration that exists here. It's hard to build a relationship that's not anchored into trust. It's very, very hard. If I can't trust you to be anchored in here with me, if you're just a ghost, then it makes me feel like a balloon with the string cut, just flying in the wind. Whew. And that's not about DJing. That's about till death do us part. And the only way is to start in this one is to start at reality. Here's the truth, behind the truth, behind the truth. And you don't have to go there. It's hard, scary, terrifying. And he might say, I'm not going there. Cool. You get to choose whatever path you want. You're just at a path. You're at a fork in the road, and both paths are hard. Choose your heart.